Welcome to a world where you are not constrained by time.
Core i9-13900K versus Core i7-13700K. We tested 8 games. The second range to make use of Intel's hybrid core concept was Raptor Lake. The top-tier Core i9-13900K and the less expensive Core i5-13600K encircle the Core i7-13700K, which is positioned in the center. While the Core i9-13900K is without a doubt the king, how does it stack up against its younger sibling? As I contrast the Core i9-13900K and Core i7-13700K, find out. No. Core i9-13900K versus Core i7-13700K. Architectural differences. Number 1 core/thread counts. The Core i9-13900K quadruples the E-core count to 8, for a total of 24 cores, compared to 16, although the P-core count is the same for both CPUs. The i9-13900K has 32 threads, compared to the i7-12700K's 24 threads. Number 2 clock speeds. The base frequencies of the Intel i9-13900K are 2.20 GHz, E-cores, and 3.0 GHz, P-cores. The Core i7-13700K, in contrast, has P-core clock speeds of 3.40 GHz and E-core clock speeds of 2.50 GHz. The i9-13900K can reach 5.70 GHz, P-cores, and 4.30 GHz, E-cores, in terms of boost clock rates, as opposed to 5.30 GHz and 4.20 GHz, respectively. Number 3 cache. Compared to the i7-13700K's 30 MB, the Core i9-13900K offers 36 MB of L3 cache. Because it has more cores, it also has greater L1 and L2 cache. Number 4 TDP. The i9-13900K, of course, has a higher base TDP rating of 150 watts, which is 25 watts more than the rating of the i7-13700K. Performance of gaming. The most crucial component is up next, performance. I'll evaluate the two CPUs using 8 games that were tested in 1080p. Keep in mind that every game was tested at Ultra or a similar preset. Note, occasional flaws in the monitoring software may cause the recorded values to differ somewhat from the actual figures. Bench test. This is how my test system appears. Core i9-13900K and Core i7-13700K are the CPUs. Asus TUF Gaming Z690 Plus motherboard. RAM, 2x16 GB DDR5 at 6000 CL 36363696G Skill Trident Z5. Processor cooler, Arctic Liquid Freezer 2360 GPU, MSI RTX 4090 Supreme-X. Forza Horizon 5. Using Forza Horizon 5 as my benchmark, the i9-13900K achieved the highest frame rate of 263 FPS, followed closely by the i7-13700K, which averaged 254 FPS. The top processor has a 4.4% advantage over the i9-13900K, which reaches a 1% low of 187 FPS, and the i7-13700K, which drops to 179 FPS. I measured a temperature differential of 17.8%. While the i7-13700K remained colder at 56 degrees Celsius, the i9-13900K hit 66 degrees Celsius. Power usage was cited as the cause of this temperature differential. The i9-13900K used 149 watts while the i7-13700K used 118 watts, yielding a 26.2% power efficiency advantage. Mount and Blade 2, Bannerlord. Going on to the next game in my benchmarks, the Core i9-13900K ran at an amazing 300 FPS and beat the i7-13700K by a narrow margin of 4.8%. With the i9-13900K at 167 FPS and the i7-13700K at 160 FPS, the 1% lows exhibit very little contrast. Thermally speaking, there was a 14% temperature advantage between the i9-13900K and i7-13700K, with the former operating at a higher 73 degrees Celsius and the latter at 64 degrees Celsius. The i7-13700K was 25% more power efficient than the i9-13900K, consuming only 156 watts, even though they had the same TDP rating of 195 watts. Microsoft Flight Simulator. My next benchmark is Microsoft Flight Simulator. With an 8.9% performance advantage and the ability to run the game at 85 frames per second, the i9-13900K continued to beat the i7-13700K, which averaged 78 frames per second. My investigation shows that the 1% lows, the i9-13900K at 40 FPS and the i7-13700K at 38 FPS, differ by just 2 FPS. With a 7.8% advantage, the i9-13900K operated at 55 degrees Celsius whereas the i7-13700K operated at 51 degrees Celsius. The i9-13900K utilized 113 watts of power, which is around 21.5% more than the i7-13700K, which drew 93 watts. Far Cry 6. Next up on my list is Far Cry 6. In this title, the i9-13900K achieved an average of 137 FPS, and the i7-13700K followed closely at 135 FPS, a 1.4% performance difference. The 1% lows also showed minimal variation, with the i9-13900K at 113 FPS and the i7-13700K at 111 FPS. My thermal performance chart showed that the i9-13900K ran at 58 degrees Celsius, while the i7-13700K was cooler at 54 degrees Celsius, a 7.4% temperature advantage. Power efficiency is not significantly different. The i9-13900K consumed 116 watts, about 11.5% more than the 104 watts consumed by the i7-13700K. Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered. Next is Spider-Man Remastered, a CPU-intensive game. Here, I discovered that the i9-13900K outperformed the i7-13700K by 10.4%, averaging 135 FPS to 124 FPS. The difference between the i9-13900K at 110 FPS and the i7-13700K at 101 FPS and the 1% low FPS is not really noticeable. Thermally, the i9-13900K reached 71 degrees Celsius during my test, whereas the i7-13700K operated at a significantly cooler 59 degrees Celsius, suggesting a 20% temperature advantage. The i9-13900K is the chip with higher power consumption, drawing 186 watts, which is 29% more than the i7-13700K's 144 watts draw. Cyberpunk 2077. The much-awaited game Cyberpunk 2077 yields the following outcomes. At an average speed of 145 frames per second, the i9-13900K continues to dominate the i7-13700K by 6.6%. The i9-13900K and the i7-13700K have different 1% lows of 119 FPS and 110 FPS, respectively, which is an 8.1% difference. The i9-13900K achieves 75 degrees Celsius, whereas the i7-13700K runs at a lower 68 degrees Celsius. This is the continuation of the temperature difference. With regard to power efficiency, the i9-13900K uses 186 watts, which is roughly 28% more than the i7-13700K's 145 watts. Call of Duty Warzone. I tried the two CPUs in Call of Duty Warzone as my most recent game. The i7-13700K did reasonably well in this instance, lagging behind by only 7.2% at 221 FPS. Looking at the 1% lows, I saw an 8.3% decline in performance for the i7-13700K and i9-13900K, respectively, to 156 and 169 frames per second. The i9-13900K ran at 66 degrees Celsius, according to my thermal performance analysis, but the i7-13700K ran at 61 degrees Celsius, which is colder. While maintaining similar power efficiency, the i9-13900K uses 160 watts, which is roughly 21% higher than the i7-13700K's 132 watts. Overall gaming performance. Now that we have cleared the benchmarks, let's look at the 2C.P.U.'s results from i7 tests. The Core i9-13900K outperformed the Core i9-13700K with an average of 186 FPS over the course of the 7 benchmarks. Based on these figures, I deduced that the Core i9-13900K performs 4.7% faster when playing 1080p games. Looking at the %1 low FPS results, I saw that the i9-13900K was able to achieve 129.2 FPS, which was 4.8% faster than the i7-13700K's 123.2 FPS. Utilization of power. Let's now examine the average power consumption figures. Remember, base Core i9-13900K TDP, 150 watts, 20% more. Base TDP for Core i7-13700K is 125 watts. Average power usage when playing games at 1080p. The i9-13900K's average power usage over the course of my 7 comparison tests was 157.8 watts, far more than the i7-13700K's result of 127.4 watts. Therefore, when playing 1080p games, the Core i9-13900K uses roughly 23.8% more power than the Core i7-13700K. Thermal efficiency. Finally, a comparison of the average temperatures of the 2 CPUs using my benchmarks. Average gaming temperatures in 1080p. My research indicates that the i9-13900K averaged 66.2 degrees Celsius whereas the i7-13700K maintained a relatively cool 59 degrees Celsius. Therefore, when playing 1080p games, the Core i7-13700K has a 12.2% higher thermal efficiency than the Core i9-13900K. Cost and accessibility. As of October 2023, both CPUs are easily accessible at all major retailers. In terms of cost, both CPUs are offered at a marginally lower price than the MSRP, as of October 2023. While the i7-13700K is available for as little as $364, original MSRP, $409, the i9-13900K is available for $569, original MSRP, $589. After deducting this price differential, the Core i7-13700K is precisely 56.3% less expensive than the Core i9-13900K. What processor is worth $1? I was only able to determine a slight 4.7% difference in 1080p gaming performance between the 2 CPUs based on my benchmarks. But in terms of cost, the i7-13700K is far less expensive than its Core i9 sibling. In particular, the Core i7-13700K performs 51.6% better for every dollar. The i7-13700K also runs cooler, requiring less cooling expenditure, and uses less power, saving you money on electricity. Which would I suggest, Core i9-13900K or Core i7-13700K? Which of the 2 CPUs would I suggest now? In terms of this comparison, it is evident that the Core i7-13700K reigns supreme. Although it is much less expensive, its gaming performance only lags by 4.7%. In comparison to the i9-13900K, it runs cooler, uses less power when playing games in 1080p, and has no real disadvantages. As a result, I suggest the Core i7-13700K rather than the Core i9-13900K.
Welcome to a world where you are not constrained by time nor space, not forced to play by the rules. Things are different. You have the speed to be anywhere or everywhere, the power to create worlds at a whim, the presence to capture the attention of masses with a single post. You will discover the curious, the enthralling, the strange, the wonderful, and find no boundaries save for those set by your own imagination. Get unrivaled performance for everything you do with the fastest chip we've ever built, the 13th gen Intel Core processors. Welcome to a world that you define. How wonderful is that?